Hello again. Now, President Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa says he will step up anti-corruption measures for the private sector. Writing in his weekly letter, the president said winning the government's war on corruption will be difficult and that it will take time to unravel the vast webs of patronage that have now become entrenched. Let's get some reaction now from the Black Business Council's Kganki Matabane. Mr. Matabane, good afternoon. Thank you very much for your time. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the whole newsletter of the president, and I'm just looking at it now very quickly for the benefit of viewers who might not have seen it on this Monday, the 14th of March. Special tribunal is showing that crime does not pay. The president goes into detail about the successes and the progress being made by the SIU and its special tribunal in recovering some monies, millions of rands worth of monies from irregular and unlawful contracts. But then he goes on towards the end. He says, and I quote, "I have also maintained that we must fight private sector corruption with equal vigor because for every public sector employee willing to be bribed, there is a business person willing to pay a bribe." The president being very strong about making sure that corruption, even including the private sector, has to be fought against. Your overriding response?
Thank you, Brana Moyane and the viewers for inviting us. We will support that type of a step by the president. And you know what they say action speaks louder than words. So it's important that we're always speaking and say we're going to do this, we're going to do this. But we need to show results at some stage. We need to say, we've done this, we've sent these people to jail, we've done this. For example, we've been waiting for those who were prosecuted for PPEs, but we haven't seen anyone going to jail. So it's important
but that's prosecution in jail. But in this letter, you would welcome, I guess, I don't know if you would welcome the fact that the president says the special tribunal has set aside, for example, more than 100 million rands worth of irregular and unlawful contracts, and is also recovering monies paid to people who were employees and they benefited as well from companies like Transnet. Surely that's a step in the right direction.
Definitely, that's the step in the right direction, but this needs to be taken further because companies cannot just come and they are found guilty, they pay back the money, they continue as business as usual. There have to be consequences for those companies, and we've seen a lot of these companies are still doing business with the state. We've got the KPMGs, we've got Deloitte, we've got Bain and companies who are still doing business with the states. Besides the fact that they were found guilty, they even paid back the money. So by simply paying back the money, it means you are found guilty. You can't just pay back the money if you're not found guilty. So I think, in as much as we appreciate the fact and we welcome the move, let's take it further and say, on top of the paying back the money, there must be additional sanctions like people being sent to jail, but also those companies being barred from doing business, especially with government. Because otherwise, if that does not happen, they're going to continue.
So basically, you welcome the fact that the president is saying today the SIU is recovering some of those stolen monies. That's good. But what about further consequences? What about prosecuting the people who are heading up those companies where the money has been irregularly awarded, and also preventing them from any future business contracts?
Yes, definitely. Because if you don't take consequence management to the end, we will be sitting here in 20 years' time with another commission or with another scandal that we need to deal with. So it's important that we set an example not only by words, but by action, so that other executives who were thinking of doing the same thing, they must stop and say, no, we can't do it because we may go to jail as a person. Because these acts, remember, even though they are done on behalf of companies, but they are done by people. They are committed by people.
So you're saying executives and directors must be held accountable directly and face the consequences of engaging in corrupt practices with government?
Yes, definitely. But we haven't seen that. The reason I'm raising it is that we have not seen that. We have seen companies and executives who were found guilty still continuing as business as usual. They're still getting tenders and state procurement opportunities. Unlike when they're small companies. When they're small companies, because they don't have the capacity, most of them, they close down. But the big ones are sort of treated with kid gloves. And that creates an impression that the law is not consistent.
The law is not consistent, or it's applied on a selective basis, some people would argue. Kganki, thanks for those insights and those views, and we're very clear what you, as the Black Business Council, will want to see from a business, from an anti-corruption thing. You want more consequences across the board, including the private sector. On another matter, from a business perspective, how are you feeling this week after the auctioning of the spectrum, finally, after so many years?
Yes, I think there is some progress there, and it's a good thing for the country. But from where we're sitting, we are saying it's also a missed opportunity.
Why?
In such a way, because it's important that when we talk about the structure of the economy, we need to look at the structure and look at the telco structure and say, how is the ownership structure there? And when we look at the structure, it's like 90% owned by two companies and 100%, the other 10% is owned by the remaining two companies. And then the question that we're asking is that now the spectrum is given to those 4 or 5 companies that own 100% of the market. Where are the Black-owned, women-owned, youth-owned, and companies owned by people living with disabilities going to play? We need to find a way, and especially government should take opportunities of policies and laws, and opportunities like this of spectrum that comes once in a lifetime, to open the market for new entrants. That's our only disappointment, that is a missed opportunity. We should have used it to open the market for new entrants. Otherwise, we're going to remain with the oligopoly that we have, and then small businesses are forever going to be suffocated. And then we've seen from history that it does not necessarily mean the private sector on its own will be able to think about the poor. If you go to the rural areas, even today, you find that either you are still on 2G or you can't even connect. If you want to download the document, you must climb on top of a mountain to be able to do that, which means that there's a failure somewhere in the system that even if there are obligations, the big telcos just ignore those obligations instead of implementing them. They just ignore it, and then nothing happens to them.
Kganki Matabane, thank you very much as always for your time and your responses. He's, of course, from the Black Business Council, responding to the President newsletter today, where he says he's going to be stepping up anti-corruption measures as well in the private sector. And also I asked them there very quickly for his thoughts about the auctioning of the spectrum. Now,